I totally forgot that this even happened until yesterday, but when I was bartending, this group of guys came in and they were like talking to me, shooting the shit, whatever. And they were funny. They were being cool. The bar was busy and they weren't like trying to pull me away from what I had to do, which I respect. But then the next day, like, one of them comes back alone, and I was working a brunch shift. It was quiet. There were like 3 people at the bar maybe. And he's like clued in on me. He sits in my section. He obviously like wanted to talk. And so I'm a little bit like, what's going on here? And he's kind of like asking me why I'm a bartender. And I'm trying to explain, like, I used to work with all of these people. They're my friends. We worked at a different bar. Now we all work at this bar. But he's like, no, you're really smart. Like, why do you do this? A lot of people who work here are smart. Just because I'm the one in college, so I'm reading a lot of books and my regular vocabulary is like bigger words than normal, that doesn't make me any smarter than these other people back here. But he's not being Captain Save-A-Ho, right? He's genuinely like, what's going on? Why do you work at this place? And I try to explain to him, this is more money than I would make at any internship, at any other job that would like further my career. I'm lucky they let me bartend because I used to just be a server, and this is like the busiest bar in town. It was corporate owned, but we had managers that were cool and knew how to run a bar in a way to keep the staff happy, the guests happy, and corporate happy, which is a miracle in corporate restaurant world. Those people are the real heroes of our society. Shout out Steven. Anyway, this guy's like trying to tell me I shouldn't be working at the bar, like I'm destined for greater things. Why is such a smart person working in a place like this? And he's like, oh, if you had to pick 3 words to describe yourself, what would they be? And I'm like, curious, stoic, intuitive. And he's like, see, that's what I mean. Normal people don't use words like stoic. Let's reel it in, buddy. A lot of people use words like that. I do think it's a little bit annoying that people that confuse someone with a big vocabulary for someone who is smart. There's probably some correlation there, but it's certainly not everything. I'm one of the youngest ones there. I've learned so much from the people I bartended with, so this is like not hitting the way he thought it would with me. And he's like getting frustrated, as if I should want more for myself. I'm trying to tell him, like, I would not make the money I need to make to help pay for my college if I worked anywhere else. This is the one place where I can make the money I need to. And he's like, but you should be like doing something to further, you know, your dreams and your goals in your summertime during college. Like, how are you gonna do well when you graduate? And so it becomes clear to me that this is a person who definitely grew up with money, who can't comprehend the idea of someone being capable of being socially mobile, being held back by their family's income. Being low income means you can't just take an internship in the summer. Like, you have to do the thing that's going to make the money that you need to pay for books and pay for room and board. It's so weird that I've had probably hundreds of conversations because I bartended for years, but there's a few that I remember. Because it felt like he thought he just needed to come and say this to me. And then suddenly I'd realize, wow, I'm destined for greater things. I didn't know I could do more. But then it became clear that he's like, okay, like with the amount of money she makes bartending, this really is like the highest paying job for someone like her. And the only real solution for me to do something else would be if someone were to give me a bunch of money. And I could tell it like disturbed him, because I think a lot of people that grow up in families with money believe, and I'm not talking a lot of money, like even middle class families, just ones where the kids don't have to work. I don't mean like the parents encourage you to get a job. I mean like you have to work. I paid for my SATs with my own money that I made. Otherwise, I would not go to college. And so it was the first time this guy realized the meritocracy is a lie. That he's been told if you work hard and you're smart, you'll just automatically do well. There's also this like misconception that if people are working a job like a bartender, a carpenter, whatever, service worker, that they're doing that job because they have no other options, which is just not true. This guy really thought it was going to be a scenario where like, I didn't know I could become something until this one guy came into the bar and he believed in me. The people that work in the bar made a choice to work in the bar. A lot of corporate jobs require you to do things where people have to compromise their morals, or be an asshole to someone. And a lot of people work regular jobs because they can't imagine making decisions that like hurt other people in some way. or they don't want to deal with a bunch of bullshit on a regular basis. Not that there's not bullshit at a bar, but like it's a different kind of bullshit. So I think we're dealing right now with a lot of weird bigotry because some of the smartest people I know worked in bars. I've just met a lot of people who think like that guy. When you talk to someone, you can tell when they look down on working people. It's really obvious, and they don't even have to say anything. It's just a vibe that you can easily pick up on. A recent thing that happened online was the farm worker situation, where farmers were going into debt and facing a lot of problems because of the tariffs. People were like, why would I have to pay farmers' debt? I'm not a farmer. I don't have farm debt. It's their fault for voting for Trump and stuff like that. And that's weird because, like, one, we all need farms to live. And two, farming is one of those professions where you literally cannot operate unless you take on debt. I was talking to an Iowa farmer this week, and he said to my boyfriend who, like, works on houses, imagine if you had to front all of the cost for a project without credit. You just had to buy every single piece of materials. You had to buy everything you needed all up front at the beginning of the project. That's farming. And so, yeah, they have debt. So this idea that, like, I'm just gonna let the farmers go bankrupt because they're stupid and they have different politics from me and they make different decisions from me and I don't know them and I don't know their life. It is a form of bigotry. If the Democratic Party or liberals want their party to be like the party of working people, you can't look down on working people. Political influencers who talk down to working people, I think that their time in the spotlight, I guess, is limited. I think we're gonna see a pretty hard swing towards populist politics altogether. And like people who were being bigots are gonna be on the way out. Another example of this is the no hate like Christian love thing. There was a sign at the No Kings rally that ended up being on like the front page of our papers here in Iowa. Like, I get the point of it. I get that people are upset that people use an interpretation of the Bible and their organized religion to hate on people, right? That because God says it's bad, now we don't like you. However, there are a lot of true Christians out there that do genuinely believe in taking in immigrants and treating all people well and giving your money to the poor. I just think alienating the biggest religion in the country doesn't make sense strategically. So yeah, that's why I do politics the way I do them. Not only because I come from the working class, but because like I've seen firsthand how class division manifests to make people look down on anyone who does like physical labor, really. It's not even about like not having money. That's just one example. I've confronted so many different weird prejudices and opinions of me because of how I grew up. And you know, it's weird because now that I'm an influencer type person, some people think, oh, she must have grown up with money. I just don't think you can do politics in America anymore, ignoring that reality, that dominates a lot of interactions in our society. And so if you're watching this thinking like, that's happened to me, good. And if you're watching this thinking, no one's noticed that I have this prejudice, they have.